Yeah. Fuck. Let's fuck.
Oh, Roboito.
It's your daddy. Roboito.
Before you do, accept the collab on
Oh,
Insta.
my bad. Hold on.
Oh, Robert.
Hold the phone. She's got a Canon. Review. Accept. There, you happy? You happy?
Yeah, I am happy.
What's going on, everybody? Today's episode of the Burn Down. New York City was just ordered to reinstate those that were fired for not taking the COVID vaccine.
Damn, that's an interesting topic.
And back pay.
That's huge.
What does that mean for New York? What does that mean for the rest of the country? We're going to talk about it. Coming up next on the Burn Down.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down. I am one half co-host of the Burn Down here. It's Eric, aka Brother Cigar, the man in the gray suit, slurping his coffee. That is Justin, aka Dapper Cigar.
This is the Burn Down podcast. There's one part Eric, one part Justin.
Wow, you know what? My initials are EJ, and we make up EJ.
Wow. If you're new to this channel, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell to be notified every single time we drop a new video. There's new episodes every single Friday. Other videos throughout the week. Check out our website, burndownpodcast.com. Become a member, $5 a month. You get exclusive access to discounts like a 15% off code to the Blueprint, which is our cigar. You also get entered into monthly members-only giveaways. We give away cigar spirits, accessories, and more. Website, burndownpodcast.com.
And become a member because this month's giveaway, what are we doing? We're giving away cigars and accessories.
Where is it? So this month's giveaway is sponsored by a previous guest.
Yes, so a couple weeks ago, we had Nick Fusco from El Mago Cigars, who has a crazy, interesting, powerful, great story about how he created a cigar brand. So he wanted to be a part of the Burn Down giveaway. So he sent us a 4-pack sampler of his Miami Art, what are they called?
Art Deco edition. These are 4 Toro Tubos.
Yeah, so they come in a cool triangular box in 4 pink and blue Tubos. Plus this, I don't even know what this is.
This is one of those. I'm actually going to open it up to show everybody, but this is one of those, it's like one of those cigar cutter tools that comes with its own little... This is right out the package here for you.
Yeah, wow.
But it's one of those keychain tools that you pop it open.
Oh, that's sick.
Like this, right? Oh, I have to probably... Oh, like this. And then bang. You get a cutter here. But then it also has some tools. It has a poker. It has a screwdriver. It has like...
Really?
The tools that you know how you...
It's like a Swiss Army knife, but a cigar?
Yeah, but it's also got like... You know when you have a lighter and you need to like adjust the length of the flame. It has a tool where you can easily do that.
Oh, sweet.
So it's like a little keychain.
Is that a carrying case? What's that piece?
Yeah, this is and then this is your carrying case if you want to just use.
Sweet. So you got a little cigar accessory and 4 cigars. So become a member on burndownpodcast.com and get entered into this giveaway.
Bang. So that's that. And then what we're smoking today is friend of ours friend of ours that was a previous guest on the Burn Down podcast.
One of the first Burn Down guests.
Yes. George from Gran Habano.
Yes.
George, I think his last name was Rico, right?
George Rico, yes.
From Gran Habano. So we are smoking the 20th anniversary Capitulo Uno. Capital 1.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an I, but yeah.
Well, if it's an I, it's a Roman numeral 1. But Capitulo Uno, the 20th anniversary Gran Habano, and drinking some coffee. So let's light these up and talk about our...
Yeah, so if you guys heard the intro, it's a little bit different conversation we're having around
this might be a little controversial.
Testing the waters here, but we're not going to get anything crazy. We just want to...
It's just personal opinions,
When you're at a cigar lounge, when you're at a lounge, when you're with people smoking cigars, this is stuff that people are talking about. So,
and I feel like this is going to be a common opinion.
Yeah.
Okay? I feel like this is going to be a common opinion.
And like I said, when you're at a cigar lounge or you're with your buddies or your friends, family, smoking a cigar, this is a constant conversation. So we just figured we want to, talk about a little something different, something that's happening in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That this is happening in our backyard. Okay, it's not like it's happening on the other side of the country. This is happening in our backyard, and I could probably, if I think hard enough, I probably know a few people, or I might know people that are in this similar situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode is brought to you by our partner, Segura.com.
Segura is an online social networking and e-commerce platform for all your cigar needs.
You can connect with fellow cigar smokers, join groups, follow your favorite cigar shows like the Burndown podcast, and even purchase cigars and accessories.
Segura is your exclusive cigar community for advice, recommendations, and connecting with fellow cigar enthusiasts like all of you who listen and watch the Burndown podcast.
There's even a loyalty program where you earn points for every purchase and gain points for interacting with the community. With 4 different loyalty levels, you can unlock added benefits, and you can redeem these points for exclusive products and swag.
If you want to check out Segura, head over to their website at Segura.com. Give us a follow at Burndown Podcast. Now back to the episode.
I'm going to read off the title. We have a couple of articles up here, but the general gist of it is that back when COVID first started, right, they had a mandate for vaccines. They were requiring people to take the COVID vaccine in order to keep their jobs. And there was a group of sanitation workers. There was about 16 of them, I think, and if I read that correctly in one of these articles. Some articles show it, some say it, some don't. But it's a group of sanitation workers that were fired for refusing to take the vaccine.
Great.
Okay? So they lost their jobs because they didn't want to take the vaccine. Fast forward, the Supreme Court, there was a justice in, was it Supreme Court justice? I think so.
Yeah.
Supreme Court judge in Staten Island voted that they need to be reinstated and given back pay.
And the reason why
Reason being
is because they deemed as the COVID vaccine does not forbid you or block or protect you from COVID-19.
So they said that.
Huge.
So he said because of this, because of the fact that the CDC came out and said that the COVID vaccine, that you can still get COVID and contract COVID even though you have the COVID vaccine. Mm-hmm. So the vaccine that is supposed to protect you against COVID doesn't.
Which is unfortunate because...
Which again, it's... So they were saying it doesn't, you can still contract it. So they're saying, okay, you have to take this thing to protect you from this, but you can still contract it. So the Supreme Court judge said that's basically stupid. Like you fired them because they didn't want to take it, but it doesn't protect them in the first place.
And there's way more than 16 employees. I mean, this is going nationwide, but we're talking about New York City. There's a lot more employees in New York City that were fired. Nurses, law enforcement, firemen, people in the hospital.
That's what I was saying. Is if I think hard enough, I probably know some people that are in this situation. Now, this is only for these 16 workers because I guess they sued the city because they got fired.
But the big thing for me is that the CDC came out and said, well, yeah, the vaccine doesn't help you go against COVID, prevent you from getting COVID, which that was the whole theme about getting vaccinated, was that it helps you not get sick from COVID. Yeah,
well, originally when it first came out, everybody was saying, oh, you can't get it, right?
Yeah.
They were saying, oh, you get the vaccine and you're not going to get COVID, which was full of crock of shit because we all knew damn well that was not the case. But I think that they used that to force people to get the vaccine because it was mandated. It was mandated at a lot of places. Like I remember you couldn't even go to New York City unless you had a vaccine. So they mandated it, saying you need to have this, otherwise you're going to get fired. Which
can we just like unpack this a little bit? Just go into how crazy.
Yeah,
New York City.
I was getting there. I was getting there
because we had a few times where we were in New York City. We had to do a couple little dip and dodge and dip and duck dodge,
dodge, duck, dip. Dive and
whatever that calls.
Yeah, we had to enter the back door sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
When we went to some of the cigar lounges in New York City, we had to do a couple things to get the workaround. But it's so crazy to me how, and listen, if you wanted to get the vaccine, you get the vaccine, but it shouldn't be forced upon you. That was my biggest problem.
Well, that was the biggest thing, is the forcing, because you're. I was talking to. Continue saying.
I was just going to say, you're fearing people.
Yeah,
by taking something that they don't want, and you're leveraging their occupation. You're leveraging their way of feeding their family.
Right, which is what they're saying, because there's some people that might be. I was actually talking about this before when we were thinking about this topic. I was thinking, I said, it's. What if there is a situation where, let's say it's somebody who's not just, hey, I don't want to get it. Okay, let's say it was somebody who had a very specific reason for not wanting to. Let's say that they had some complications in the past where they had taken a vaccine or a medication or whatever have you, and they got a reaction to it, or they know that they don't respond well with certain medications or whatever.
Joe Rogan or something like that?
Well, yeah,
he said he had like a specific. I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or he was talking about it, but he said there was something specific that he couldn't use, or he couldn't get the COVID.
That was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's Aaron. Yeah,
Aaron
Rodgers was on.
Okay,
Joe Rogan,
so that's so my
yes.
point is, let's say, and this is, I think, where there was a little bit of inconsistency. Where, okay, Aaron Rodgers says, all right, there's something in the vaccine that I'm allergic to. I know because I did a test, or I experienced it in the past, so I'm not going to take it. And athletes and these, high, I guess, higher up on the ladder, if you will, individuals in America get these exemptions. But what about, the guy, the regular guy, I don't want to call him Joe Schmo, but like the regular guys or the regular gals that may have a similar situation. They took some medication in the past because something happened, and they got a reaction to it. They're like, hey, listen, I'm very hesitant to take any new medications. I want to wait until... But they're like, no, you have to fucking take it, otherwise you're going to lose your job. And they're like, listen, I don't want to. I have a very valid reason why I'm kind of hesitant to this. Please don't let me do that. And they say, no, fuck you. You have to take it, otherwise you're going to lose your job. And now they're like, well, what do I do? Either I'm forced. Now my back's at the wall. It's like, because if I lose my job, I'm a single mom with 3 kids. How am I going to...
Yeah.
And now, so now that they're like, now here's another question. Okay. All the people that, like these guys, that were fired because they refused to take it. Now this is kind of opening up the
can of worms.
The can of worms of, hey, now these 16 individuals for sanitation were ordered to be reinstated and get back pay. There's 2 parts to this. There's a whole group of other individuals.
Now, is that what's happening for sure? Does that article say they're getting it, or that's
so? The article say, I'll answer that, but let me continue my train of thought. So there's 2 parts to this, where there's more individuals that are in the same situation that didn't want to take it. It got fired. So this opens up that avenue where, hey, now we're going to start seeing more people start suing their cities because they were fired. But the other part of this is, what about the people that didn't want to get it, but they did it anyway because they didn't want to lose their jobs?
I know a lot of people like that.
Is there any sort of like, hey, I didn't want to take this thing, but you forced me to take this thing. So now, just so that I stuck around, and now all these people are going to hire them back. I never wanted to take it in the first place.
What are you going to do for me?
What are you going to do for me?
Yeah, it's a valid question.
So there's like 2 sides of it, right?
And I personally think there's more people in those 2 categories than people that were just willing to get it. I felt like there was many people. There's obviously...
I'm going to look up the answer to your question.
There was many people that wanted to get it and said, hey, if it's makes us safe, okay, let's get it. But I also feel like there's a big majority that, like you just said, didn't want to get it, but were forced to and just did it anyway, just to, for...
Just because they weighed their options. I had plenty of people that I knew that did that. They said, listen, I have a newborn, and, my wife just got out the hospital. I can't afford to lose my job.
Yeah. And just think about that, bro. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about having the stress of having a newborn baby in this world with all the, minus COVID, right? With all the crazy and scary things that can happen to a newborn baby. So now you have one, and now you're stuck in a situation where you're forced to do something that you don't want. And if you choose one side, then basically you're going to be questioning where your food is going to be coming for your family, essentially.
That's such a...
And the parental thing would be to do, I think, would be, all right, well, if that's the case, I have to sacrifice my own self to get this vaccine so my family can eat and I can continue to work. It's a shitty situation.
Dude, I'm glad that I didn't have to make that decision, but
I agree.
It's so you asked me before what the city is doing.
Did the judge say that and it's happening, or did he say, hey?
So let me read through this, okay? Because this is from...
And the reason why, we're talking about this is that I actually was talking about this the other day in a cigar lounge, and we were just and it was about 3 or 4 different guys, and we were just all going back and forth, and it was relatively the same ideas and concepts, and everyone kind of felt the same. Everyone had a little bit different opinions, but I was just like, this is cigar talk. It's not everyone likes to talk about it, but there's things that talk about in the cigar lounge that not everyone likes to talk about. Politics are talked about in the cigar lounge. We're not talking about politics. That's
no.
We ain't doing that.
We ain't doing that.
But I think talking about issues that are going on in the world deserve to be talked about too as well, because if they're happening in the cigar lounge, it can happen on the Burn Down podcast. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I'm just reading through this to get the answer to your question before. I agree. It's a very interesting topic because it opens up a discussion for, like we said, all the thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are in the same situation as this.
As if the world and this year and the previous years couldn't get any crazier, and the fear of the unknown is just even more fearful. It's like, well, what is this going to open up now?
I can tell you there's going to be a lot more of these, because this was 16, don't quote me, 16, call it just a bunch of sanitation workers that filed this lawsuit. I'm like, now a lot of people are going to be like, well, fuck, I want to file my lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Right? Because this is... when this first came out, I just sat there and I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, because in the beginning they're saying, fuck you, like you're basically an asshole if you didn't take it. And now they're saying, well, it didn't really matter. It doesn't do anything, so give them their money back.
I feel like I'm not hearing more, and I feel like I'm not seeing more about people being in more of an uproar or upset. Maybe they are. I'm only on Instagram for the burn down. I'm not on Facebook, on Twitter. I don't check these social media platforms like that. But I feel like there's not really any uproar, maybe for a lack of a better term, that the CDC, who was saying you need to get the COVID vaccine, you need to do it, it protects you, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't. Like, I feel like
that's a good point is who is going to hold the CDC accountable for
nobody
for false information, right? I mean, we're in a big world of fact checking. But who's going to hold these people, these higher ups, accountable for saying one thing and then all of a sudden 3 months later saying a completely different thing? And we're like, well, what? You said 3 months ago and now you're going against it and you're saying, it doesn't. I'm like, so, and then you were saying the masks work and then you're saying the masks don't work. Then you're saying 6 feet works. Now you're saying 3 feet. Now you're saying 9 feet. It's like, you're like a weatherman. You just you can say whatever and nobody's going to hold you accountable.
And I think it holds I think there's more to this down the road. Like what you were just saying.
Somebody needs to hold them accountable, which nobody does because they're...
who's... ever see Enemy of the State?
Yeah.
With Will Smith?
Yeah.
Who's Will Smith's wife in that movie? She's a famous actress. But the whole movie is about the CIA or the FBI monitoring homes. And she's like, well, who's monitoring the monitors? Who's monitoring the monitors?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to that.
That's it. It's 100% right.
That's like with all the social media things, like with the fact checking. Like how do they know it's a fact, or
what are they doing to prove that it's a fact?
And then I remember watching an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, and he's like, "Oh, we have a third party company that does the fact checking." It's like, okay,
yeah, well, who fact checks the fact checkers?
It's like just getting ridiculous at this point. But
it also goes against like freedom of speech too.
Yeah,
freedom of speech means I could lie right to your fucking face. Freedom of speech, you can say what the fuck I want.
Yeah.
But now you have these fact checkers that are saying, no, you can't. Because that's not true. Like, it doesn't matter if it's true. It's freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want. If it had to be true, there'd be no novels on the entire planet. There'd be no fiction novels. Because you can't write something that's a lie. You can't just make shit up.
Yeah.
Right? Now, granted, like there's obviously, if you're a news outlet and you report the news, then you should report like the facts. But if you have people that are just tweeting or have their own podcast with their own opinions and this, that, and the next thing, like they could say whatever the fuck they want to say. It's called freedom of speech.
That's it.
But anyway, so
what I was trying to get back to the whole.
I have the section right here that answers the question you asked about 10 minutes ago.
All right, so give me the answer.
So you had asked if what the city is doing for that. So it says right here, a group of sanitation workers were fired for refusing to comply with New York City's coronavirus vaccine mandate. The government employees should be given back their jobs as well as retroactive pay. This is the Supreme Court Justice Ralph Porzio in Staten Island. Okay, the city's requirement for the government workers to be vaccinated was, quote, arbitrary and capricious, end quote, stated the Supreme Court Justice Ralph Porzio, a Republican whose jurisdiction includes the stronghold of Staten Island.
Porzio would be from Staten Island.
It says the city has appealed the decision.
The city appealed it?
So these group of people sued the city. The Supreme Court judge ruled in favor of them, saying you need to give them their jobs back and back pay, and the city is now appealing them. And it says New York State Supreme Court is a trial-level court, and its decisions are subject to review by higher appellate courts. So
that's a shame, man. The city the city is pushing back. I mean, that's a shame. It's a shame.
So the city's pushing back. There was something about Mayor Adams in here. Okay, Mayor Adams announced last month that the city was dropping the mandate for private employees as of November 1st. He said at the time that ending the mandate for government workers was, quote, not on the radar for us, end quote. Porzio wrote in his ruling that the mayor, quote, cannot exempt certain employees from these orders, end quote.
Say that one more time.
So Mayor Adams was saying he said that they're dropping the mandate for private employees as of November 1st for New York City. He said at the time that ending the mandate for government workers was not on the radar.
Huh. I didn't realize it's still in effect.
So a spokesman from the New York City Law Department said in a statement that the city, quote, strongly disagrees with this ruling as the mandate is firmly grounded in law and is critical to New Yorkers' public health.
See, this is what I don't get. They're making a stink about it, right? Blah, 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 blah. But then you have the CDC that they listened to previously. Uh-oh, you find something else?
Find something juicy, so continue what you're saying.
So the city of New York is saying, no, that's not right. These are in place. This is what continues to happen. So the same establishment that they followed a couple of years ago when coronavirus came out, now the same establishment saying, well, the vaccine doesn't prevent you from COVID. Mm-hmm. But they're still pushing back, saying, no, these need to be in place. Yeah. This needs to happen still. Like,
but there's exactly.
Make that make sense to me. How is that logical?
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it either because, like you said, if this was okay, you take this thing, and there's 100% you ain't getting it. 100%. Okay, like the polio vaccine, 100% you ain't getting it. All right, I can understand where some companies like, all right, listen, we're gonna say, listen, you want to work here, you got to take this thing because this like completely eradicates it. But however, that's not the case. So if you have worker A who doesn't get the vaccine, can still get COVID, can still transmit COVID. Then you have worker B who does get the vaccine, but can still get COVID and can still transmit COVID.
Double negative.
Then what fucking difference does it make if you have it or if you don't have it?
It's double negative in my eyes.
Okay, because if you were saying, hey, listen, we want to eradicate it in this company, and we have something that eradicates it because if you get this, you will never get COVID. So if we guarantee all of our workers have it, then we guarantee nobody will have COVID inside this building. But that's not the case because it's not. So it doesn't really matter. Because now you're saying, all right, great, we have all of our workers in our company have the vaccine, but they can all still get COVID, and they can all still pass it around the company, so it doesn't do anything.
I feel like it's kind of like imaginary almost. Like they're just like, you know what it is? I don't know what they're trying to do. Like why are they
so they have control over people.
Well, yeah, that's it.
All right. Here's a piece of juicy information I found.
Oh.
This is from the Washington Post, by the way, okay? So we're not just pulling this out of fucking nowhere. And I have the Washington Post, I have a Yahoo article, I have ABC 7 article, I have a Gothamist article, I have a number of articles here all saying the same thing. So Mayor Adams' office told the local news publication, City and State New York, last month that 1,761 city employees had been fired because of non-compliance with the mandate. Think about it, non-compliance.
So the city and the state of New York.
So they were saying, no, this was city employees. So this was, he told a local news publication for the city and state of New York.
Okay, told, okay.
So they said that there was 1,761 city employees that were fired because they were non-compliant with the mandate. Okay, so they just they didn't bow down to the king, okay? More than 1,400 of those were terminated in February when Adams said that the workers were, quote-unquote, quitting and not being terminated because this was a, quote-unquote, decision not to get vaccinated. So they're saying that they weren't fired. They quit. He says, because you made a decision not to get the vaccine, which means you make a decision for us to fire you. I'm like,
but why does that make it? Why are they right? Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, no, it's not. I was perfectly fine before.
But why are you right? Why are they right? And
yeah, they with a capital T. Yeah, why are they right?
Why are they right? You know, again, it's not. It's a bunch of, what's the word? Malarkey.
So here's something. So the Justice said, and this is quote, though vaccination should be encouraged, public employees should not have been terminated for their non-compliance.
Who said that?
That was the judge.
Okay.
So he said, listen, he goes, although it's encouraged, right? He goes, you shouldn't be fired if you don't want to get it.
That seems pretty logical to me.
If you're a private company, okay, different story. It's like your household. It's your house. If you don't want to let anybody who's not vaccinated into your house, that's your fucking house.
Yeah.
Okay, but these are people that work for the public.
But now, while you're looking, to go back what I was trying to say before when you had the answer was, I feel like this is brewing in a lot of people that they don't know who to trust, don't know who to listen to, don't know which way is which because of all the flip-floppy back and forth, like yes, no, maybe, no, yes, do it, don't do it.
Yeah, like think about if you were to talk to somebody that always flip-flop, you would never trust them, ever.
And that,
right?
In my opinion, that this whole process has been very flip-floppy. And now look at it. The people who were saying this isn't right, this doesn't work, we shouldn't be able to be forced to do this, at the end it says the vaccine was like, well, it doesn't prevent you from COVID. So it's a scary world we're living in. So
there's another thing that they were talking about. They made a special point that to bring up the special celebrity and athlete exemptions. Okay, so they were saying, hey, listen, you're making this mandate or mandatory for these public workers, right, that are not in the spotlight. He goes, but you got all these big athletes and celebrities that are okay. That's like, yeah, they're exempt. They have a reason. He's like, but how come they're exempt, but I'm not exempt?
We didn't even touch on that because it gets a little dicey. But like, yeah, there was plenty of videos, pictures of when everyone was on lockdown, stay in your house, get the vaccine, don't do this, don't do that.
Or they were out and about doing whatever.
They were at restaurants, they were doing their thing, and why was it okay for them?
Well, that's what he said. He goes, well, if you have all these special celebrity and athletic exemptions, he goes, how come they get it and these guys don't get it?
Elite.
So.
Comes down to eliteness.
But I think it's definitely going to open up some more controversy.
It's going to do a lot of things, man. It's going to do a lot of things. It's going to be, people are going to be starting feeling very hesitant on what is being told to the masses.
Do you think that there's any other articles of other states?
I don't know. I'm sure there is.
COVID.
New York can't be the only one.
Unvaccinated
my recommendation
workers.
Is that,
I don't even know what to.
My recommendation is if you don't know, or if you don't feel comfortable, or if you don't think it's right, just do your own research.
Yeah, that's all. We've been saying that since the fucking beginning. Listen, it's up to you. It's your body. It's your decision. If you think it's right for you, then do it. But don't force me to if you want to take it, great. If you don't want to take it, great. I could give two fucking shits.
No one wants to be forced to do anything.
Okay,
if you don't want to smoke a cigar, I'm not going to force you to smoke a cigar.
That's what I'm saying. That was the biggest thing to me. Don't force people into making the decision. They're adults. They can make the decision for themselves, okay? So now, so this brings up the other question is, how do you feel about the adding it to the children's...
I knew that was going to come up next.
This is a big one, man.
Yeah.
Because I feel strongly about this.
Yeah,
but there's adding it to children's mandatory vaccines.
Why?
If it doesn't do anything, then why?
Why?
This is right back to the point of here where they said that, listen, that you can't, like, you're forcing them to take something that doesn't do what you say it does.
If you get a chicken pox shot, it prevents you from getting the chicken pox. Okay, that's done. You take your other shots.
The polio vaccine prevents you from getting polio.
Okay, you take the shots that have been around, the medicine has been around for 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years that has a substantial amount of results saying, hey, you take this, over the course of time, it looks like it works. How long has been COVID around? 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And now the CDC is still saying
that it doesn't
work. So why are we implementing it?
Especially implementing it because the whole reason that the vaccine, what they're saying now, I mean, in the beginning they said it prevented it, but then obviously they called them breakthrough cases, blah, blah, blah. But now we obviously know data. So if you're elderly and you have your immunocompromised?
Yeah.
Your immune system's compromised. And you have things to worry about. Okay. You can take this vaccine, and if you still get COVID, you might have lesser symptoms because you have the vaccine. Okay. Great. Understand. You want to, you're kind of towards the end, and you're like, listen, I get that.
Just be careful. Sure.
Kids are not in that category.
Their body's still.
If a kid gets it, he's gonna be done in like 3 days. Okay, so when you force the little kids who don't really, they don't need it. Okay, like that's what I was saying is, okay, you have all these vaccines, give them to the people that need the vaccines, that are elderly, that have poor immune systems, that have complications already. Give it to them. I'm a young, healthy individual. I don't need it.
Take my shot.
Even if I wanted it, like, I don't want to take it from somebody that needs it. So when you have all these kids, like, I don't think it's right to force them.
But it goes just back to, if it doesn't work, then why are you doing it?
Right.
Why are we?
You're forcing them to take something that doesn't really
now is that in effect, or is that being?
I'll look it up. I don't know. I think it's being COVID vaccine children.
Because what happens? It's what happens when parents don't want their kids to do it? They're gonna ban the kids from school. Like,
okay, so here
it sounds like more than a problem than a solution.
Okay, so there's a couple.
You know what I mean? That sounds like more like a problem than a real solution. Because
so the CDC is looking to add it, but then there's a bunch of states address.
I don't think it goes into effect that quick. It's got to.
It says CDC advisors. This was 6 days ago from Politico.com. CDC advisors recommend adding COVID shots to routine.
Recommend, okay.
What is that? To routine immunization schedules. And then the Governor Reeves of Mississippi will not add it. Who decides if COVID vaccine will be required for New York public schools? All right, so this is for us. So this is New York. Let's look at this one right here.
Yeah, I don't think it's in effect. I think it's
okay. So it said last week. So this was October 24th. So they said last week from that date. So this was 2 days ago. So about 9 days ago, the CDC voted to include the COVID-19 vaccine in the recommended vaccine schedule. Okay, so let me
recommended.
So there's So it says that it's on the recommended vaccine, so it's not going to be mandatory. Okay, so okay. I'll retract my statement correct in saying that they're not going to mandatory.
You fact checked your fact yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I'm correcting myself here. It says the vote does not mandate the vaccine for anyone, including children attending public schools. The decision is left up to the individual states. Okay, so
that's left up to the state.
Okay, so maybe I can back check myself again here. Okay, this is reading further down into it. So if I understand this correctly, the CDC is saying that we recommend you add it to the vaccine schedule.
Dude, that's bizarre. That's bizarre to me. The CDC says it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID-19, but then they say we recommend it.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Am I missing something, Justin?
Okay, so...
Am I missing something?
Listen, you're preaching to the choir here. With that in mind, Governor Kathy Hochul was recently asked if New York plans to add COVID-19 vaccinations to the state's vaccine schedule. She says that has to go through the state legislature by law, so that will be something that the state legislature will be reviewing in consultation with our Commissioner of Health in the next couple of months.
Interesting.
And then Lee Zeldin said last week that he took to social media and said, okay, he says, as governor, I will oppose mandating the COVID vaccine for grade school, college, employment, or otherwise. Kathy Hochul needs to let the public immediately know exactly where she stands on this issue. That is extremely important to so many New Yorkers. So they're kind of going back and forth here. So I think the CDC is recommending it, but then it's left up to the states. I know a bunch of states down like Mississippi, Texas, I think Florida did. There's a bunch of them saying like, no, we're not going to do it, which I agree with because I don't think it really does anything for the kids anyway. The kids are going to get over, they're going to get it, they're going to get over it. And then people are going to come back and say, well, what about the, 5-year-old that passed away? I said, listen, there's obviously extreme cases, but for the 99.9% plus of children that are in grade school, they'll be fine.
Unbelievable.
In my opinion, okay? I'm not a doctor. This is just this is what we're saying.
Yeah, YouTube and,
okay.
We're just giving our own opinion here.
But I think, it's something you got to think about, right? Okay, because let's put this scenario in where you are thinking of in our age, right? Just married, probably going to have kids in the next few years, okay, and then call it 5, 6, 7, 8 years after that, kids are going to school. Now you have to make a decision. Do you go to public school? Let's say they make it. You have to take it. Do you put your kids, if you don't want your kids taking it, do you put them in public school or do you have to, and make them take it? Or do you say we're going to go to private school? Or do you say we're going to homeschool? Right, this is now this decision comes in. So
these are unnecessary decisions that adults should have to make.
And it's interesting because there are, if you go to public school, like there are vaccines you need to get the measles, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember.
You need to get the polio vaccine.
But I remember every year for football.
You get a flu shot or something, right?
Yeah, every year for football we have our physicals, and then you had, I don't even remember.
You had to get tuberculosis.
Oh,
right?
You know what?
You had to get a TB
shot.
shot.
Go to your doctor, I think. I didn't think you had to go to
your doctor. No, you had to, and I know before going to college, you had to make sure you're up to date on on some stuff. But again, it's.
But then also, just like every other sickness, right? A lot of people have had it. A lot of people are immune to it or have minimal effects from it. COVID. A lot of people had it. A lot of people have some kind of immunization to it. So it's going to just fall in place with another sickness, I think. Does that make sense?
No, I agree because it's we talked about this before. It's a glorified cold. All right, all the symptoms are the same. Now, granted, certain colds, if you're already...
Dude, remember when first COVID happened? And we were like, do we come in the studio? Like, what's up with this? Like, what are we supposed to do? It was such a weird... Yeah. It was such a weird world. I remember walking out... I remember standing outside in Trader Joe's, being online for 2 hours. God, it was so weird.
Okay, so I pulled this. This is from the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. So this is July 2022. New York City has updated the school immunization requirements for 2022-2023 school year. So this is what kids had to get to go to public school in New York.
City or the state?
This says NYC, but let me...
NYC.
Okay, it says learn about for New York City. This is New York City. So all students aged 2 months to 18 years in New York City must get the following vaccinations to go to childcare or school. Okay, so childcare, Head Start, nursery, 3K, or pre-kindergarten. So pre-K. You needed your 4 doses of, I think it's diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, DTaP, which is your tetanus shot. You need to get your polio vaccine, 3 doses. MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. Okay, hepatitis. Varicella, which is chickenpox. And then this was influenza. Mm-hmm. Then...
Is the COVID on there?
Pneumococcal conjugate, PCV.
Pneumococcal.
And then there's another influenza. So there's HIV, which is influenza type B, and then influenza. So you had to get flu shot. Okay, that was pre-K. And then kindergarten through 5 was the same thing. You had to get tetanus. You had to get polio. You had to get measles, hepatitis. At the end of the
day, is there COVID-19 shots on
there? It's not on there. Okay. But so this was interesting because this is what you had to get in order to go to anything from when you go to school. It's interesting about all these things. Now I would love to research more into all of these vaccinations right? The ones that are for tetanus, the ones that are for polio, the ones for measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis. If you get the vaccination for that, does it 100% prevent you from getting it? Like, if you get a vaccination for hepatitis B, does that 100% prevent you from getting hepatitis B?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
No, but I'm just saying that'd be very interesting.
Oh.
Right? Because
I thought you were asking me.
No, but I'm saying it'd be very interesting, right? Because I know the flu shot doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? The flu shot doesn't 100% prevent you. It gives you, it helps, right? But the same for polio, I know it does. For tetanus, I believe it does. Measles, mumps, and rubella, I believe it does. Chickenpox, it does, right? Does chickenpox do? I don't know.
I got no idea.
But I'm just saying, so my point is, I know we're going off the rails. My point is, I'd be interested to see, because we're talking about how you shouldn't put a vaccine on the mandatory vaccine list if it doesn't really do anything, okay?
Not going to do.
Right? So that makes me think, all right, what about all the other stuff they made you take? Are these in that same boat? Because if it is, I'd be like, well, remove that from the fucking list. Because if it doesn't really do anything, then... But I think most of this stuff does. I
think those have been around for decades and decades and decades.
So there's a lot of data.
There's a lot of data on it. Not like 1 year there's a vaccine comes out and it's like, yeah, it works. It works. Do it. Do it.
Bah, okay.
Bah, ram you. But yeah, so that's our story and we're sticking to it.
That was good. It was a little
come on, man.
No, it's good. It was good. It's good conversation.
Stepping out of the comfort zone a little bit. But it's not really, though, because if we're in a cigar lounge...
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, we're in a cigar... We talk about other people in the lounges and stuff, so...
I'd be interested in what everybody else thinks.
True.
Okay, so comment down below or send us a DM. So a couple questions. Are you in a situation just like that, where you've gotten fired from your job because you haven't taken the vaccine? Are you in that situation? Does listening to this and hearing the story about the 16 sanitation workers in New York, does that light a fire under your ass? Are you thinking about doing something? Okay, getting together with your fellow workers that were fired. What about if you did have a vaccine, you didn't want to take it, but you took it, and now this is like, well, shit, if they're going to get something, I want to get something.
How does that make you feel?
And the third thing is, how do you feel about adding it to the children's immunization list? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea?
Let us know.
Okay. And if they do get it, and you don't think, like, what's your option? Are you going to put your kids in public school? Are you going to put them in private school? Are you going to put them in homeschool? I'd be interested to hear what everybody else thinks about it. You heard what we think about it.
Let us know. I'd love to hear about it. Open forum.
So that's our episode here at the Burndown Podcast. We hope you liked that.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified every single time we drop new episodes. It's every Friday. Check out the website, burndownpodcast.com. Become a member. It's $5 a month. You get exclusive discounts to 5 partnering stores. Plus, you get 15% off the Blueprint, our cigar. And you also get entered monthly giveaways, cigar, spirits, accessories, and more. This month's giveaway is a 4-pack of El Mago Miami Art Deco Edition, plus a little cigar cutting keychain tool. But that's going to do it.
Thanks, guys, for listening, and gals, for listening and watching. We'll see you guys on the next podcast, the next video. That being said, as we have it on a t-shirt now, cheers, chin chin, salud.